Hey guys, uh, may as well get this kicked off. Uh, God, hope you got something to say, because I'm drawing a blank. Uh, whatever's in your mind, man, for me and for whoever else, if you can get it across to any of us, I'm sure we'd all appreciate it. So we thank you for your unwavering peace through everything and the strength that you always impart to us when we need it. And most of all, we thank you just for being who you are and for helping us become who we're supposed to be, who you want us to be. And just for clearing up this haze, whatever it is. So, uh, anyway, uh, I, uh, I got nothing. So let's just see where we end up. There's, for a few weeks there, it was, I was just stuck on, worship music. I don't know why. It's like I would start trying to read the Bible, and then it was just like my receptors just weren't working. Something wasn't crossing the synapse right. And then every time, like, I would just ask God about it. It's like, hey, what's the deal here? Isn't this a good thing to do? And I just kept getting led by the nose right back into worship music. And that lasted for a few weeks. And every time I was asking God about it, because it was like at the time, praying in tongues wasn't even really as much of a priority. And I was asking God about it. I say, hey, how come I'm stuck doing this? Come on. And he said, the implication was basically to correct a few things in my own heart. Like you see a little crack in a big dam. You're gonna want to do something about that, right? Especially if you live on the wrong side of the dam. And basically, that's what God was doing with me. It was just like my heart was facing that way, and He wanted to just adjust a little bit more that way. That's the best way I can understand it right now. And then finally, this last week, it was like like you ever watch a rodeo, the gate kicks open and then the cowboy's just holding on for dear life to this bull just bucking around. It was like the gate finally opened for praying in tongues again, the floodgate. I was so grateful because I was getting tired of Christian music, especially the stuff that makes the singers seem somehow like they're more holy than God. You know, we are waiting for this and that, like God didn't already do it. You know what I'm saying? That kind of crap. Anyway, I was glad I didn't, because I don't, I don't have a whole lot of overtly Christian music, just Christian artists that are actually artists, you know. Anyway, so I was glad to be able to throw myself back into praying in tongues, and it was, you know, you ever read that part in the Bible where it says the Holy Spirit's going to show us things to come? Those things aren't always gumdrops and roses. That's how they start out. that's how we start wanting to hear from more of God. And then we get in too deep and we're like, all right, God, we're accountable for this much, but let's stop here. And then we really, it's not really how God had intended it. And, God was just showing me some stuff. coming up. I mean, all right, let's let's be square here. Uh, I'm thinking it's God. Either that or I'm losing my mind or I'm hearing from demons or something. I just, you know what, honestly, I'm just trying to do the best I can to hold on to God too, just like anybody else. So, no sense in thinking I'm that much further ahead. I had to pull some of those sonic traps out of the yard yesterday because we got a freeze, and I guess it turned back on somehow. So if you hear a buzzing every 30 seconds, that's going to get old. Anyway, I hope you guys don't hear it. But um, anyway, yeah. Truth be told, man, I'm just trying to do my best here too. And some of the stuff God was showing me, man, it was, believe it or not, it was stuff I did not want to see, and I was vocal enough about it. You know, it's like God and I have this camaraderie where He can trust me with something, and I can tell Him I think it sucks. Doesn't change anything. Just may as well throw it out there for Him, you know. And for a while there, man, I didn't know what. I had nothing, man. All I could do was just pray in tongues and pray in tongues and pray in tongues. And I started getting back into the Bible again too, recovering from the music season I got stuck in. And man, it's like I was looking, I was sizing myself up, seeing how I could deal with whatever it was I thought I was seeing spiritually. And I didn't feel like I had it in me. All I knew was, man, I got to do something here. If this is God, whether I ignore it or not is not going to change whether or not it's going to happen. So, knowing that, man, I may as well be prepared for it. And I didn't like I would try and talk to God just like I'm talking here. Man, it would take about 3 syllables for me to get tongue-tied. I mean, like, just even right before I start, man, I was laying on the couch. I was like, God, uh, uh, I, uh, uh, that was about it, man. I probably took a dozen runs at it. I didn't make it any farther than that. So, really, it's I don't know what to call this one because I didn't know where I was going with it. I had no earthly idea. And usually I get some quiet time at work and just throw some headphones on and get lost in thought, and somehow God finds me in the middle of it. And then it just didn't pan out as well today. And it was like there was stuff that just kept coming across me, like just people out of the blue send me a message just out of nowhere, just trying to pick a fight. I was like, man, I know what's going on here. You don't. Talking to the person that's trying to interfere. But I know what's going on. You're being a tool for the devil. You know, obviously, I'm not going to tell them that because I'm just going to come across like a head case and then whatever. But that's what was going on, man. There was this, I feel this fog starting to set in. And it was unpleasant. Really unpleasant. Like I was trying to rely on spiritual radar, you know, just like a bat, you know, you make a noise and then you try and find some solid objects that echo back, and I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing, man. I would just call out for God, and then it would just be like, boom, nothing. Don't mean He's not there, man. I know better than that. But don't hurt to throw feelers out there sometimes. Am I right? Uh, And man, really what I keep coming back to is just praying in tongues, man. If God wants us to know what's coming, we need to have the capacity to be able to hear it and to be able to not not somehow get corrupted by it or have a breakdown from it or anything like that, man. We gotta be strong enough to be able to not only trust that it's God, but to know that we can receive the strength from God when that time comes. And how do we do that, man? By willpower? No, no, no. We do that by willpower, man. We're doing it by our own strength. And how are we ever going to do anything godly by our own strength? We're supposed to complement God's strength with our own, man. But that don't mean we take God out of the equation, and that don't mean we take ourselves out of the equation. But really, the gist of that, of why the Holy Spirit wants to show us things that are coming, is so we don't get taken off guard, so we don't get ambushed by circumstances, by anything other than a surprise party from God, because He does like doing that for us. You know, you ever have that happen, man? You just be praying, and then you just praying and 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 praying. And God, this is getting real old. And then God's like, ta-da! And then all of a sudden you just have this massive understanding of like 2/3 of everything you've been reading. Those kind of ambushes are good. Anything else, man? Not exactly. But even those take some strength, man. When God's going to dump something on us, we better have some reinforcement to be able to function with that kind of weight, and not just run off on our high horse and start some other church or some other doctrine or write a book about what an angel is going to tell us halfway through the book, you know, whatever else. Nothing like that. Man, it's about just being friends with God, man. Praying in tongues, that's something that needs to be getting done by people that do want a relationship with God, that want more of a relationship with God, that want God to be able to trust them with something, with anything. Man, this whole Christian thing here on this planet, it's not about us. It's not about what God can do for us. It's about what God can do for other people through us. Man, that is what the goal is here. What God can do for us is take away the dysfunction that we've established in ourselves so that we can do something for other people. Man, that's what this life is about. And God's got to sponsor every minute of it if we can get ourselves enough out of the way. And that means being an able, trustworthy steward for God in whatever it is, whatever path it is that He's calling us to go down individually, man. It's not going to be like the Wizard of Oz where we all go skipping down the same yellow brick road arm in arm. Man, that I have yet to meet a single person. I know they exist somewhere here, but as far as I know, I haven't met a single person called to do the exact same thing I am. It's just how it is, man. It's not good or bad. It's just, hey, fact is fact. And I don't even know why I said that. But stewardship is something between us and God, man. If I'm supposed to go to some rural little farm town that's somehow full of religious burnout biker gangs and stuff, and just introduce God to them the way He wants to be introduced, the way He is, the best I can convey right now, then basically I'm going to be a steward of their souls until they learn how to hear from God for themselves. There's a reason that I'm not a steward of hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's because somewhere down the line, I might do good for a few weeks there at first, but at this point, man, it's not that's not the kind of stewardship I would be able to sustain, just because that's not the part of me that's developed yet. I'm not strong enough in that area. But anyway, praying in tongues is, man, it's hard to really pin down with no context exactly what praying in tongues does, because it's hard to even find a springboard for it. But it's what develops our strength, man. It's what helps us pinpoint the avenue God uses to talk to us. It's what gives God the megaphone into our heart so we can hear him. It's what reinforces us to be able to stand under what God's trying to get across to us. It's a whole lot of things. It's the wild card. And that is something that really is just immeasurably important. I mean, if we listen to 4 sermons from Dave, at least 3 of them are going to talk about praying in tongues. And I remember when I first moved here, man, Dave was in a seeking time at first, so it was a lot of Gary Carpenter, and then Dave came out, and just about everything that he was saying went way over my head. It would have seemed like every single service, man, he would just talk about praying in tongues, and he would always have this exhortation at the end, no matter what he was saying. He had this exhortation, and then he would just offer the altar. Anybody that wanted to come up, get filled with the Spirit, man, pray in tongues, go live the dream. And at first, I was like, dude, if these people don't want it, man, why don't we just leave them alone? And now, I've grown up a little bit in the last 8.5 years. And I can't imagine not only a Christian life, but just life where I stop praying in tongues. I tried to imagine it yesterday. It was awful. I don't recommend that unless you want more motivation to pray in tongues. And I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and it's just about one of my biggest fears when I first really made the decision to get into God was God, whatever it is, man, if it's in the way, I want it out of the way. I don't care how. One of my biggest struggles, especially after I first moved here, was I had this this tug of war with God that lasted for a few years at least. I don't remember how long. And God would show me some stuff. Like he'd put all these things on the table I had to deal with. Some of them were big, some of them were smaller, some a little more manageable, just my own strength. And so I just started picking away at the easy stuff. Who wouldn't? And every once in a while, it'd come time to deal with something big. It's like, I'm good, God. Let's keep picking on small stuff for now. We'll get to the bigger stuff. And one of them was just this stuff that things like emotions, things like what I thought would make me more relatable to people, things that I thought kept me human. And finally, I had to forfeit that tug of war, because it was either that or I just stopped getting anywhere with God. And I didn't want that to happen. So I just had to throw in the towel, man, and be like, God, I guess we're going to see if you know better than I do. None of us think that, but in our actions, well, you know. And man, looking back on it now, God got me to the other side of that tug of war. I can see all it was, man. Everything. I was so apprehensive to forfeit because I thought they were they were my bridges to other people. They were my opportunities, my own personal little outreaches to connect with other people, to make them want to connect with me. I felt like a tool after that. I was had to sit down, after you get through something, you take a little bit of a breather, and it's like a boxing ring, man. You go to your corner, and God's right behind you, man, rubbing your shoulders, giving you a pep talk, building you up. it was like I was sitting there having a drink of water, just trying to psych up for next round, and he's like, "Hey, all that stuff you thought made you human, that was your pride, man. That was just trying to veil itself, so you want to keep it around. That is everything that was keeping you from more of me." And I had to lie about what it was because it didn't want to go. And granted, there's still some there, but at least I can see it for what it is now. And man, I can't tell you how stupid I felt because it was like all the warning signs were there all along. I just kept choosing to ignore it and be like, "No, God, this is part of who I am. I need to keep this around so I can reach people better for you." Like God didn't know what He was doing the whole time. Come on. Huh. It's easy for us to get down on ourselves and feel stupid when all God is truth, and then we're just busy trying to reason everything away. And huh, huh. But you know, looking back on it now, man, that was probably one of the most irrational fears I think I ever had to deal with so far. At least some of them now. Even God validated me. He was like, this would be hard for anybody, so you're doing all right. But back then, man, it was like I was just looking for reasons to be a wuss. uh, Oddly enough, I found one every single time. But praying in tongues, man, that does bring about opportunity for change. That brings us to the point where we see stuff for what it is, and then we got a choice. We can either choose God, or we can choose to, well, or we can choose not God. Whatever else it is, it's either God or it's not. When it comes to something like that kind of decision, that sort of fork in the road, and man, I just can't say enough about praying in tongues, especially right now. Man, all I know is the landscape of a lot of things is going to be changing a lot sooner rather than later. And we can all talk about that in church, convince other people how spiritual we are, and be like, "Oh, revival's coming," and just build that up without doing a single thing ourselves to prepare for it. Man, sure, anybody can say, "Well, the landscape's going to be changing soon." But if you really believed it, wouldn't you be preparing yourself for it instead of just gossiping with everybody else about it? And I guess that's where, man, one of the really cool things was I was still living in Washington, man. I was listening to sermons when I was at work, man. I had the chance to pray at least 3, 4, 5 hours a day, plus whatever else, whatever other time I put in. That was just kind of what I did at work, man. I worked by myself and just threw myself into it when I was doing my thing there. And I'd have these little coffee shop dates with God there. I would just sit down and just write, just my thoughts and just the past week or however long. And then it's like all of a sudden God just blindsided me. I was just sitting there, and then it's like on a cloudy day, just kind of get used to the clouds, get used to the darkness. Then you just start doing your thing, and then all of a sudden you look up and everything's sunshine. You're like, where did this come from? That's kind of that's, that's sort of what happened to my mind this night. And it's like God was just talking to me. I couldn't keep up fast enough. I was just I was just trying to take it all in because I'd never had anything like that happen to me before. And one of the things that struck me the most was he told me that the light is going to get brighter, or the light's going to get brighter, like in colors, basically. And the light's going to get lighter, and the dark's going to get darker until there's no more gray. I was like, man, I sure hope that's God, because I liked it. And then then I moved down here, and I got plugged in with some holy rollers. We had these Bible studies and just in-home meetings and whatever else. And there was one night. It was really small. There was this lady from the other side of Washington State. She came down for the conference, and it was just, I don't even know, not even a dozen of us in this living room. And God just dropped, and then she started talking. And she said the same thing, and I didn't know this chick from anybody. Man, I had maybe 2 conversations with her throughout the course of this whole week, and then she just shows up at this Bible study. I was like, all right, well, whatever. Somebody else to talk, so I don't have to. uh, mm. And she said just about the same thing, like just talking about how there's going to be a separation. And then I finally started getting to a point where I can comprehend stuff at the prayer center. And I don't know how long they've been saying it, but they said the same thing, except they were talking about a separation in terms of speed. The fast are going to go faster, the slow are going to go slower, and then there's nobody in the middle. And you know who the middle is? Is the talkers, and not the doers. And part of me is just excited about that day, because at least everybody that you can see playing church every weekend is finally going to get exposed for what they are. Not not that people who spend time with God can't see Him for who they are, but at least then they won't be able to convince themselves otherwise. I mean, how many of us really that let God develop things in us have not tried to feign ignorance once in a while? God will point this out. It's like, God, I don't know what you're talking about. What? We've all done it. Come on. But difference is we we at least concede defeat there at the end just because we want more of God. But man, just the what Gary calls maintenance prayer. It's we're coming to a head here. It's not going to be enough. It's about either you throw yourself into this thing or you catch up. Or I guess you start making friends in heaven, so you got people to introduce me to when we get there. Yeah, I mean, it's not about scare tactics, but hey, God's as much love as He is judgment here. Let's let's face facts. So we may as well stay on his good side and stay ahead of the time. Uh, hmm. I have no idea how to say what I just saw. Man, I hate that. Uh, something. Man, I don't know, man. Basically, it comes down to staying ahead of what the devil has in store. As the knowledge of God increases in this planet, man, so does our accountability. We we just keep making excuses. We just keep refusing to grow in God because we don't want to give this up, or we like this too much, or it's uncomfortable, or I don't want to do that, or whatever. Man, we're gonna have to explain that to God, and I don't want to be one of those that does that. I've come to a point where excuses just are not going to be enough, man. The more accountability we have, it's like mm, the more uh, the knowledge of God on this planet, let's say that represents light, just like it does in the Bible. Man, if we reject that, then obviously we embrace darkness. But for now, we see a lot of people trying to, well, straddle the fence. And we can say it any number of ways. And it's getting to a point, man, that accountability is going to make the fence pretty uncomfortable to ride. It's not going to be one of those, it's going to be a security fence and not a privacy fence, you know what I'm saying? Razor wire and stuff. Man, either we get on God's saddle or we get off of it. But praying in tongues, man, that's going to be a vital thing. I was thinking about it yesterday, just how much, because I was just so struggling just to find strength, just to be able to confront some of this stuff that I thought God's showing me, that I think God's showing me, that I think is God. And man, I just, as soon as I threw myself back into praying in tongues, it's like within hours, man, I could just feel myself getting a better grip on things. Like I just had a more firm stance. Like I was able to, it wasn't about just knowing God was there for me. It was about being able to just reach out and grab his hand and then be able just to find comfort in that and not just in the mantra of God's with me. I know he's with me. I know he's right there. I know he sees all this stuff. I know he's got my back. It was about just it was like a kid just taking the parent's hand, man. You just get up there and get God's hand. You're invincible then, man. Ain't no bully gonna mess with you. But we don't need to be on the wrong side of this separation, man. It's coming to a point where it's about aggressively going after God, not half-heartedly, not, all right, God, I love you this much and no more, so don't ask anything of me. That's coming to an end. I don't know when. I sure hope it's coming soon, though, because at least then, uh, at least then church people know they need something. I'm trying to be less derogatory, but it's just so hard to avoid. Thanks for bearing with me. But really, man, the praying in tongues, the change that it brings, God's not trying to transform us into something other than what we are. God's trying to purify the crap out of us. I just, all the religion we grew up with, all the systems of thought, the patterns of thinking, the ways of life that we've all just gotten used to and just cemented in our minds as fact, just because we grew up with them and that's all we've seen work. We got to make some room for God in that stuff. Man, I've never seen a dude go stand on a hill and tear a few loaves and a couple fish apart for hours and hours and hours and hours. I've never seen it. If it's in the Bible, does that mean it's true? So, we, man, we got to get ourselves to where God's got something to work with in us and through us, not just for us. And hey, guess what? That means sacrifice. Do we love God enough to trust Him to be able to do that? Sometimes. Sometimes you got to think about it for a while. But God's just trying to purify us from that stuff, man. So the devil's got less and less and less to work with in us. All the stuff I used to embrace just because I thought it still made me human, man, I look at it now. It was everything that was keeping me from God. Everything. Man, I was, some of it I didn't know how to give up. I just, when I hit that point, man, I would just pray, and then things would just start unfolding here and there and here and there, and then all of a sudden I knew enough to make a decision and give it up. And now I cut some of those huge weights off of me. I don't even know what it was like to feel alive before. I just saying, man, I'm not trying to pass myself off as super spiritual or anything, but the very stuff that I was holding dear, that I ended up just having to let go of, be like, God, whatever, man, you win. I am so glad I did. Now, at this point, I wasn't so sure there for a little while, but it's worth it. Absolutely, absolutely worth it. And the cool thing about it is, this point, man, it's you ever climb a mountain and then like you look up, you can see where you're trying to climb to, and then you get up to there, and then all of a sudden there's more to climb. You ever have that happen? That's kind of what it's like, man. It's like I got up to there, I was like, man, this is cool, and then I look up and I see there's more. I was like, man, the view's got to be even better from up there. That's and so far it turns out that's the case. God ain't trying to ruin us, man. There's I've made a lot of friends throughout my life. I lost some just through time or God or whatever else. But now it's you know uh, people get so concerned about being relatable and using that as a ministry, as an outreach tool. And now it's like, people just want to be nice to me. They just, and it's, well, not everyone wants to be nice to me, but it's not, it's not my hobbies, it's not my passions that are an outreach tool, man. It's God reaching out to them. It's like, man, similes and metaphors. You know, like with music, say you're trying to hit a solid A note, and and then you're trying to going for a harmony. You're going for back up. You're trying two people trying to hit A note, and then one of them's off, and then you can just feel that you hear that reverberation, that little bit of twinge, and something's just off. Kind of like tuning a guitar, you just gotta loosen the string a little bit. No, you gotta tighten it some. There we go. And a lot of people are living, and there's something that's just out of harmony, and we can ignore it. Man, there's always a new movie coming out. There's a new video game, new book, new hobby, new, whatever. There's no shortage of new things for somebody to discover. But when we use that as a way to stick our head in the sand and just hide from our own crappy life, man, we're not ever really going to escape that thing that just seems off, man. And then you bring God into the picture, and then it's like all of a sudden things just start fitting. And man, if I'm able to take God to work, and people just feel at peace around me, they don't feel so burdened by worries like they have to hide from this and this and this, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do tonight because they don't want to deal with this, or because their wife's angry with them, or blah blah blah, because their house is empty, they don't want to deal with loneliness or whatever. Man, if they can get away from that just by being around me because I have God, what better outreach tool is that, man? And we can talk about video games, man. I have started more conversations with those people about video games than anything else, man. Sometimes that's just like a conversation enhancer. We'll just talk about this game or that game. No, I haven't played that one yet. What's that like? Whatever. There's this one guy at work, man. He's like my go-to guy for handyman tips, and he's helped me with some stuff around here, and he's gonna help me grow out the backsplash, and just a good solid guy. And yeah, every once in a while, man, he'll just come up, he'll start bragging about his latest video game accomplishments. He's like, man, I killed 6 dragons so far, and I got this dragon bone armor set I'm working on, and blah blah blah. Cool. But God's the primary outreach tool, man, and everything else, that's just a backup. That's a secondary. That's something that keeps us human. That's how we relate to people. And then introduce them to God through how we consistently live, not how we appear to live, and then we find hard times, then we just buckle, and then all these people watch us, and they're like, oh, I thought Christianity was real for a second. It's about more than that, man. So, back to praying in tongues. That's what's going to unfold all this stuff, man. Like watching a flower blossom in the springtime. Similes and metaphors, man. But that's what's going to open up God for us, man. That's what's going to give us the capacity just to be able to learn more and more and more and hear from God better and better. And, man, you want a better relationship with God, that's the route to take. It's not about stabbing blindly in the dark and be like, God, I think this is what you want me to do. Sure, do it in your own strength, but God's got a whole lot of strength on his side just waiting to be tapped into, man. So, if you don't pray in tongues, start. If you can't, ask for it. Man, how many? Hmm, if I asked my folks for a dog and they give me a big wheelbarrow full of horse crap, what is that? If I ask God for the gift of the Holy Spirit, man, for his presence, for the gift of praying in tongues, why would he want to give me something else? Man, we just got to open up that present. And a friend of mine just said it the best when they were starting to get into it. They're like, man, it's just like I just shifted my mind into neutral, and then stuff started coming out of my mouth. Syllables. And I was like, huh, yeah, I guess that's a good way to do it. So, can't say enough good things about it, man. That's it's a step of faith, but it's faith in something worthwhile. So, all that being said, I think I have played myself out for the day. Yeah, I'd appreciate if you guys pray for me. I pray for you. It'll be a back and forth, back scratching mutual thing, and we'll go from there. So, hopefully chat again in a couple weeks. We'll keep you posted on that. Love you guys. See ya.